Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will finally be doing the rewrite of Halloween 6. Well, as you know, if you've seen my rewrite of Halloween 5, you obviously realize that I left a post-credit scene showing that I will be rewriting Halloween 6, and that was always my original plan. Well, I originally was going to just do 6. I thought it would be much better if we also fix 5 as well. So 5 was the first part, and we are now on part 2. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. Before we go ahead and get into this, we're going to get into a few. Make sure you guys go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you thought of the rewrite of Halloween 5 to get hyped for the rewrite of Halloween 6. Also, we will be covering a few things that will be changing in this movie. So if you didn't see my rewrite of Halloween 5, Rachel did end up surviving the events. Tommy Doyle was introduced in 5. Alongside this, Jamie was not captured by the Cult of Thorn at all. In fact, the Cult of Thorn not even featured in that. So the Cult of Thorn will not be involved in this movie at all. So this version of Halloween 6 will be very different. So because of this, I will be changing a few things as well. 1. Kara Stroud, Danny Stroud, they will not be included, as well as Steven, obviously. Alongside this, Danielle Harris will still be playing Jamie Lloyd like she should have. In my personal opinion, it would have been much better if she would have played Jamie Lloyd. However, unfortunately, for some reason they didn't. And let her come back, but I feel like it would have been much better if she would have played Jamie Lloyd. Plus, it would have worked a lot better. So we're going to go ahead and have Danielle Harris still play Jamie Lloyd alongside this. We're also going to have a huge post-credit scene in this, so get hyped for that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and finally get into the rewrite of Halloween 6. We open up on Halloween 1989 as we see Michael Myers in the jail cell and how he ended up breaking out of my rewrite of Halloween 5. Now, this time he ended up breaking out of the bars himself and slaughtered every guard there. Michael then have gotten away and escaped into the night, into the forest. He knows he's going to have to hide out for a while. Thus, he would end up finding a sewer system. And thus, he would decide to hide there for a bit. And occasionally, if people were to go there, he'd easily kill them. Alongside this, Michael would end up finding himself a new mask. Thus, he would end up getting the Halloween 6 mask, because I'm avoiding the 5 mask in general. I hate that mask. Alongside this, Michael's been slowly planning on how he's going to get Jamie. He decides that the best strategy is that he's going to hide out for a while, and then when they least expect it, fully come back. He will be back, and he will get revenge on Jamie. He will finally finish her. Alongside this, he's heard reports that Tommy Doyle has survived, and that Jamie will also barely survive the events of 5 as well. After all, he did stab her in the chest, and he's shocked that she's still alive. Thus, Michael is ready to get revenge. Thus, he ends up preparing himself. He realizes that it's almost Halloween, and it's 1995. He fully prepares himself. He ends up grabbing his knife. He knows it's fully time to get revenge. It's time to finish what we started. It's time to go after Jamie. However, we end up seeing someone watching Michael, and the person has a gun, but we can't fully see what they are. But it seems like we've seen her before. However, she ends up following Michael, as we get the title screen of Halloween 6, and we end up seeing a pumpkin, similar to the opening of Halloween 1 and 2. We end up seeing the skull as well. However, the skull opens up, and we end up seeing a mini Michael mask, as we slowly blend into it, showing us that this version of Halloween 6 will be a lot more better and a lot more epic, and it will act like a finale to the Halloween series until another movie would happen. We open up, after the opening credit scenes, we end up seeing Jamie Lloyd as we see where she lives. Her, Rachel, and their foster parents are still having to live in Haddonfield. However, similar to Laurie Stroud in Halloween 2018, they live in a secluded forest near Haddonfield, and you need to have a special gate. And the only way to get in is to contact them from the other side of the gate, and they would end up letting them in. And it's pretty obvious as well that they've been training for a couple of years, as has Jamie, as she doesn't want her uncle coming for her. And thus she's been practicing with guns and multiple other stuff, getting prepared for her uncle. They have traps set up. They are ready to fully take down Michael, as is Rachel and their foster parent. Alongside this, we end up following Tommy Doyle. We end up seeing how he's got more mentally insane after the events of Halloween 5. Now he's taking medications. Alongside this, Dr. Loomis also barely survived the events of Halloween 5, and he's currently in retirement. But he still does have contact with Jamie and Rachel, just in case Michael were to come back, with him telling him that Michael could potentially come back one day, and that they had to be careful. Alongside this, Jamie would also end up not going to school anymore, even though the government has told them that they need to go to school. Jamie's foster parents end up arguing everything she's been through. It's not a wise decision. Thus, because of this, she still does not go to school in Haddonfield anymore, but she goes to school in a nearby county. Thus, because of this, Jamie does not have to deal with anyone dealing with her in Haddonfield. In fact, Rachel and Jamie's family is pretty much grown into like this weird. It's pretty much grown into the crazy people of the town. As even though the town of Haddonfield is wary of Michael Myers, many people do believe that he is fully gone, due to the fact it's been about 5 to 6 years without no interference from Michael. Alongside, however, some people in Haddonfield are prepared just in case, as the deal with Michael will be back. Alongside this, we end up seeing a few of Rachel's friends that she ends up hanging out with them, talking about, do you think Michael will come back? And Rachel simply saying she doesn't know, but if he does come back, she is fully prepared alongside Jamie and their parents. They will get revenge on Michael if he does show his face again. And we end up seeing Michael as he fully arrives in the town of Haddonfield. And he ends up seeing the police. We see the police have stepped up their game ever since the events of Halloween 5. After all, Michael did slaughter a good amount of them with barely any of them surviving. Thus, the police have stepped up their game. And thus, the police are constantly searching around Haddonfield, making sure for Michael. Even though it's been nearly 5 to 6 years, they still want to make sure, due to the fact that Michael was gone for 10 years and came back in Halloween 4. Thus, they fully looking around. Not only that, Sheriff Maker, who did end up surviving the events of Halloween 5, is also getting a lot more obsessed with Michael as well, due to the fact that not only did his daughter die, but a lot of his co-workers and fellow officers did die, along with many other people in Haddonfield, and he's not going to let that happen again. That's because he's grown a lot more wary of the town of Haddonfield. That's because the entire town of Haddonfield is kind of in a messy position. Some people believing Michael will not come back. Some people believe that he will indeed come back, and that's only a matter of time. Some people getting prepared, like Rachel, Jamie, and their parents, and a lot more people. And we end up seeing the person, seeing them again, and they're in the shadows. However, you can't really see who it is, though. However, she ends up having similar hair we've seen before, but also different at the same time. You can't really tell who it is, but it's pretty obvious we've seen her before. Alongside this, we end up following Jamie as we see her target practice. She's gone all out. And she knows her uncle will come back. Thus, she's training herself a lot more. She trains herself harder. That's because of this, Jamie essentially grew up obsession as well, taking out Michael, similar to Lori in Halloween 2018, how she fears him, and that she knows Michael will be back for her, and that it's only a matter of time that she has to fully get prepared. Alongside this, we end up seeing Rachel. She ends up heading home with all the talking at their dinner, with Jamie obviously also having to take medication now too, heavily scarred after the events of Halloween 4 and 5. Alongside this, we end up seeing her having PTSD flashbacks of the events of 4 and 5. It's pretty obvious Jamie's mental state is not good, and she might be turning to the dark side like Michael did more than ever now. However, Rachel would assure that everything will be alright. They will eventually find Michael and stop him. Jamie, however, is unsure of this. Thus, she ended up heading to bed that night, and she ended up having a nightmare of Michael. Meanwhile, we follow Michael around the town of Haddonfield once again. He knows that he's extremely wanted, due to that he's stalked all day, and he knows how prepared they've gotten. Some people have gone, especially Jamie and Rachel and their family. Thus, he knows he has to get prepared if he's going to want to fully take them out. Thus, he's prepared. He decided that he needs to look around. And thus, you end up seeing some teens nearby, and he's decided that'll be his first kill back in Haddonfield, a celebration. Thus, Michael does end up following them, and he ends up seeing them. And thus, right when they're about to drive away, Michael does come from behind and ends up killing all of them without even having to try. It's pretty obvious Michael gets stronger, and thus, because of this, it turns out that every time Michael does indeed get a kill, he manifests and becomes more powerful. Now, this is something I'm taking from the new timeline, the Halloween 2018 timeline. It's pretty obvious already. I have taken a few stuff from the 2018 timeline, as I feel like this does work better for Halloween 6 in this version. And there will be a little supernatural elements. I feel like this element can work a lot more than the actual supernatural elements they've gone with. So I feel like this would be a good supernatural element to work with the character of Michael. So that's why I'm going to be going with this instead of the actual Cult of Thorns. So in my opinion, this would have worked a lot better and would have explained this, and as well as I guess we could, if you wanted to briefly touch the backstory of Michael Myers. Now it's quite been a long time, not in the 1990s, but overall I really want to touch it that much. But anyway, we end up following Dr. Loomis as you see him in retirement. We can still have Dr. Wynn make a cameo here, but he's not the freaking Cult of Thorn leader. It's just a little cameo, and they're old friends, okay? Dr. Wynn, like I said, is not leading the freaking Cult of Thorn. I was a stupid pop one to begin with, and like I said, I've already gone over the small supernatural element that's in my version of Halloween 6. Alongside this, we end up seeing the person stalking Loomis as well, almost as if she wants to go to him, however she knows she can't. Alongside this, we end up hearing Loomis, hearing the reports of the death, and how it's similar to how Michael did back in 1988 and 1989. Loomis ends up gasping in horror, and he ends up realizing, could Michael be back? Thus, he ends up getting fully prepared just in case. Michael might be coming home soon, that he might be home. Thus, Loomis ends up getting prepared. He grabs his gun. He knows the final battle will be beginning soon. Thus, he ends up grabbing and prepares himself, and he knows he's gonna have to contact Jamie and Rachel and their family. Thus, Loomis would end up arriving back in Haddonfield after all this time. He would end up arriving at Jamie and Rachel's new house, contacting them. They would initially be hostile to see what it is. However, once they see it's Loomis, they quickly let him in. Loomis explains the situation. Now Michael might be back, as they've also had the reports as well, saying that they've got more prepared. And Loomis is shocked to see how armed and skilled Jamie has become with guns. It's pretty much showing him that she's gone all out. If Michael's coming for her, then she's got to show him who's boss. With Loomis saying if that's the case, then get prepared, because it looks like Michael is indeed back. And thus she ends up saying that she's fully prepared, and she's ready to take him down. Thus, all of them end up contemplating what they could do. Dr. Loomis saying that their best option is to potentially try to figure out where Michael could be. However, they all, of course, extremely hesitant to this due to the fact that Michael might be able to spot them, that they know this is not the best option, that they need to try to get as many people in Haddonfield as they possibly can. Thus, they do end up approaching Sheriff Meeker. Meeker's obviously hesitant to work with Loomis again, however, he's a lot more wary of Michael. Thus, Meeker does agree, and thus they all end up going around Haddonfield, and they do end up getting a lot of people who are ready to come back Michael. However, some people are obviously a bit hesitant. And we end up following a group of teens in the independent as well. Specifically 2 teens are ready to get it on, ready to have a little intimate moment. However, Michael ended up seeing them, and right before they're about to begin, Michael ended up killing them right then and there. Alongside this, Michael also ended up killing the rest of the teens of the group, as well as a few grown-ups that are nearby, showing them Michael's about ready to go on a brutal killing spree to get Jamie. Thus, Michael does end up walking around. He's prepared to find where Jamie is, and thus Michael ends up looking around. We've seen Jamie, as well as Loomis and Rachel, along with their parents here, because they can get to follow up with people to keep after Michael. Michael knows that the entire time was coming from. Thus, he ends up quickly preparing. And thus, Michael ends up filling his head, essentially saying, "Bring it up, bring it on." Thus, Michael ended up walking towards the crowd, and now he ended up stalking them quickly in the shadows, and he would end up leaving as well. He knows he's going to have to go with strategy smart. Alongside this, Tommy Doyle will be in the crowd as well, and he ends up seeing the crowd. After he's done taking his medication, he has to take even more now after how mentally insane he's really got him. Thus, Tommy Doyle ends up agreeing to join the riot, as he's ready to take down Michael Myers for good, and how he's going to be one of the leading members as he grabs a gun and a baseball bat. Thus, all of them begin looking around town, ready to find Michael. However, Michael would end up seeing them. Thus, a group separate from them would begin to look, with one of them being Nurse Miriam, who, as we know, is still alive in the Crystal Thorn timeline. Thus, all of them end up looking around. We end up seeing the woman we end up seeing in the shadows again. However, we can't really tell who she is, who she could potentially be. Thus, all of them end up looking around, and they end up seeing a few dead bodies there, the dead bodies that they ended up finding earlier. And this is where Michael strikes. He begins to tear through the mob, and Nurse Miriam is telling Michael, alongside Loomis, that he's going to die. Thus, to begin to fire at him. However, Michael does ultimately go down. They know that's not going to be effective, and someone nearby does ultimately end up getting killed once he tries to check on Michael. With Loomis and Miriam screaming no. Thus, they end up beginning to shoot Michael a lot more. However, Michael does end up taking the bullets as he's killed a lot more. Thus, he's becoming a lot more stronger. The two being horrified by this. And Michael does almost kill Marion and Loomis here. However, they do barely escape. Alongside this, another group of the mob end up showing up trying to take down Michael. However, he simply ends up tearing them as well. He decides to use him as decoration to call out the other groups in the mob. And he's going to show them who's boss. Jamie, Rachel, alongside Tommy Doyle, end up meeting up with Dr. Loomis and Nurse Miriam, and alongside this, Double Jamie, Rachel, and Tommy Doyle's mob group. They would all explain the situation, how Michael is indeed back, and they end up countering him. However, Michael didn't end up outmatching them, all of them. Thus, they all end up contemplating what they're going to do. Thus, they ended up deciding that they all need to stick together if they're going to want to take down Michael. Thus, all of them do to heading to where Michael ended up killing all of them. And they would end up seeing all the dead bodies hung up around trees as well as on the ground. Thus, all of them end up contemplating what are they going to do, and thus they end up deciding what to do. And when all of them are looking around, we see Michael essentially do something like he did in the H2O timeline, where he's hanging somewhere and ends up coming down and begins to kill certain members of the mob. All of them are terrified and begin to try to shoot Michael. However, Michael takes the bullets like they're nothing, and Michael ends up cutting off all their heads. Jamie is shocked by this, and he ends up shooting him in the eyes, blinding him. Michael would obviously be taken off guard by this, and he won't be able to see only for a little bit, as the blood ends up pouring out of the mask, similar to the mask in Halloween 2. Thus, they ended up surviving randomly. However, he eventually does get his eyesight back once dodging the bullets, as he ended up missing. Thus, Michael ultimately does end up killing Jamie. However, Jamie ends up getting out the way and using a tree branch to advantage, quickly distracting him. Alongside this, Rachel shoots him in the back of the head, causing Michael to fall down, shocked. However, quickly get back up. With Loomis, however, preparing and shooting some more shots at him, as with Tommy, Jamie, and Rachel. However, ultimately, Michael does end up following them, and he does end up following them. Alongside this, some members of the mob did survive, as they realized they're going to get him to a hospital. And while they're doing that, Jamie, Tommy Doyle, Rachel, Dr. Loomis, and Nurse Miriam had to keep him distracted. Meanwhile, we see the woman in the shadows once again. I end up seeing him watching them. However, she really wants to help. However, she clearly realizes that it's asked at the right time. Thus, she ends up walking around just watching them. And thus, we end up seeing her as she watches Michael as they end up fighting her. She clearly wants to help, obviously. However, she knows she can't. It's not the right time. We end up seeing her even pull out a gun, almost ready to shoot him. However, again, she doesn't want to. She knows it's not the right time. And we end up seeing her. We end up getting a brief glimpse at her face, and it looks familiar. However, we don't know who she is. Who could she potentially be? And from what we've heard, she died in a previous installment, off screen. Thus, this woman, the men in the black, would end up walking away. She ends up putting her gun in her pocket as she's ready to take down Michael once and for all. Almost as seemingly she has a connection to Jamie. However, she simply just goes away, and she knows she'll eventually get Michael and save Jamie. Meanwhile, we see Jamie, Rachel, Tommy Doyle, Loomis, and Nurse Miriam after they lost Michael head to the hospital, and they end up seeing all the dead bodies along with a bunch of damaged ones as well, with people knocked out, badly injured for Michael. They know they're gonna have to stop him, with Jamie have a commenting that she knows what her uncle's doing. The more he kills, the more he transcends. Does all of them end up realizing what could they potentially do? Does Dr. Loomis would end up explaining that they're gonna have to think of something quick though. Thus, all of them decide they need to think of something quick, and thus they end up deciding maybe they could draw Michael back to his house as they did back in Halloween 5. This way they can end up ambushing him there. Thus, they do all agree. Thus, Michael was looking around, ready to find Jamie as his last family member. He ends up seeing people. He ends up seeing Jamie as well, with Jamie telling her uncle to follow me if you want to kill me. Michael does ultimately end up following them, however, and Michael quickly follows after them. However, he ends up getting ambushed by the mob inside his house. So all of them begin to beat down and shoot at Michael. Michael's obviously taken off guard by this, and he intends to fight back. However, he does ultimately go down as he gets fiercely beat on, with Jamie shooting him in the head as well as the eyes once again. However, Michael does ultimately begin to get the advantage as he cuts off someone's legs, alongside cutting off another pair of legs. People end up screaming in pain as they fall on the ground as Michael tears to their rest. Thus, all of them are terrified as they quickly attempt to shoot him in the eyes once again. However, Michael, getting his vision back, would end up stabbing someone in the head. Jamie would be terrified just as Michael ripped part of her hair out and ended up slashing her arm open, similar to how he did to her mother back in Halloween 1. Jamie's shocked by this, and she realized that she got the same slash like her mother did back when she first encountered her uncle. Thus, Jamie, now pissed off, would end up throwing something at her face. Alongside this, she would end up grabbing something, hitting him across the face with it. Michael would be more pissed off by this and would have tilting his head, clearly pissed off. Thus, Michael attempts to go for a killing blow. However, Jamie dodged the attack. Alongside this, Rachel would end up coming in along with her parents, and they would end up shooting Michael down. However, Michael would end up tilting his head, seeing the parents, and he would ultimately end up distracting Jamie and Rachel, allowing him to brutally murder Jamie's step-parents and Rachel's actual parents, with the two of them screaming no as they're forced to watch. They end up screaming them to run. However, they know they can. They try to help him. However, Michael almost ends up killing them. Thus, they realize that they have to run, unfortunately. Thus, they do manage to get away as they're forced to watch their parents die, with the two of them obviously crying heavily as Michael goes for the finishing blow by simply cutting off their heads. And Michael fully falls after Rachel and Jamie, ready to take them down. And the third and final act of my rewrite of Halloween 6 begins. Michael does ultimately end up following them. However, the rest of the mob, the huge mob, the entire town of Haddonfield is ready as they all prepare, with Loomis and Nurse Mary and Chairmaker Tommy Doyle leading the charge. Everyone's there to stop them. Thus, they all end up quickly getting prepared. All of them end up activating their stuff, and thus they end up falling. They end up meeting up with Jamie and Rachel. The two of them obviously heavily traumatized and pissed off, ready to kill Michael. They want his head. Thus, all of them do manage to find Michael and Lauren once again. However, Michael simply tilts his head and is ready to kill all of them. However, they do ultimately end up shooting down and beating at Michael. Thus, Michael doesn't end up realizing he's going to have to do something quick if he's going to win. Thus, he does begin to tear to the mob, grabbing an axe, tearing them through. Even though people have a lot of equipment, they're not able to stand toe-to-toe with the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman brutally beats down on all of them, not showing them any mercy as they stare into the black eyes of nothingness, of death, of evil. Thus, all of them not sure what to do. Thus, Jamie, Tommy Doyle, are immediately freaked out. They have no idea what they can do, if they should even attempt to fight. However, Loomis and Nurse Miriam go for it. However, Michael ends up tilting his head. Nurse Miriam ends up attempting to sacrifice herself. However, the sacrifice ultimately doesn't end up working. So Michael simply grabs her and cuts her throat off, similar to how he did in killing her, similar to how he did in the H2O timeline. And alongside this, Tommy Doyle would attempt to go for a blow. However, Michael would brutally beat down on him. However, Loomis would save him. Alongside the sheriff crew begin to fight Michael as well. However, he would ultimately end up losing the fight badly. Thus, he would end up dying right then and there on the ground. However, he'll see his daughter in a better place in heaven. Thus, all of them have no idea what to do. Loomis attempts to fire back at Michael. However, Michael ends up tearing the gun apart. Thus, they have no idea what to do. It seems like they're about to die with Michael grabbing the axe, ready to cut off Loomis's head. So all of a sudden, Michael's fired from behind, and he's fired at the eyes, and he's all of a sudden stabbed in the arm as well. Michael's taken off guard by this, he's falling on the ground in pain, and he's attempting to get back up, only for the person, the woman we've been seeing in black, stab him right on top of the head and throws him onto the ground, and ends up slashing his eyes. And Michael, obviously shocked by this, having not felt so much pain before. Alongside this, she went into partially bringing fire to Michael's eyes. Michael would be taken off guard by this and catch on fire for a little bit, distracting him. Jamie, Tommy Doyle, Dr. Loomis, who's on the ground badly injured, and Rachel are shocked to see who it is. And they end up looking, and their jaw drops, like Jamie having tears pouring down in her eyes. And she simply says, "Mom," and we end up looking, and we see Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Stroud, and she has tears down as well as seeing Jamie, and she would simply say, "Jamie," and the two of them would hug, proclaiming how proud she is and how her baby girl has grown. With the two of them also having a happy reunion, with Loomis shocked to see her as well as Tommy Doyle and Rachel, with all of them smiling to see her. However, Loomis would end up pointing something out. Michael's getting back up. Laurie would end up telling him to follow him, and they would all end up heading back into the Myers house. It's where it all started and where it's all going to end. Thus, all of them end up preparing. They end up hiding out. Laurie ends up explaining to them what they're going to do and how they're going to fully take down Michael once and for all. Michael ends up bursting through the house, and he's ready. He's now more pissed off than ever. Not only is James still alive, but his sister, Laurie Stroud, who he thought died years ago, a decade ago, is still alive. And he is ready to fully finish her off along with his niece. Thus, Michael ends up preparing himself. He grabs his knife, look around his old house, but with him also thinking in his mind, this is where it all started, and this is where it's all going to end. Laurie. Thus, they're grabbing the knife, and he gets to look around the house. Laurie ends up telling them a strategy. Thus, she ends up grabbing the gun. They all begin to look around. However, Michael, similar to H2O, comes behind him. His sling ends up slashing Laurie's arm in the same spot he ended up slashing before. Alongside this, he ended up slashing Rachel's leg. All of them would be taken off guard, and Loomis would shoot Michael in the face, distracting him as with Tommy Doyle. Thus, all of them would heading into the kitchen. Michael ended up falling, and they begin to throw knives at Michael. Michael would simply dodge all the attacks. However, he would begin to stab. It was ready to stab. However, Jamie and Laurie ended up throwing something. Thus, the knife would go through that, not killing any of them. However, Mike went heading Laurie out of the way, and he would go to kill Jamie. However, Dr. Loomis ended up stepping in and taking away the blood, dying right in front of Laurie, Tommy, Jamie, and Rachel. All of them were shocked at this says, finish him. You know you can. Thus, Dr. Loomis dies right then and there. Psychiatric for Michael, who originally wanted to help this little boy, who ended up becoming a crazy old man who wanted to defeat Michael, has now died, sacrificing himself. Jamie and Lori shot. The two of them would scream no, and Lori and Jamie would shoot at Michael head first, along with the eyes with double the bullets. Michael would be taken off guard and be thrown down on the other floor. However, Michael would simply get back up and follow them. Lori would ultimately get split up from Jamie, Tommy, and Rachel. Thus, they all end up shocked by this. They end up getting trapped by Michael. Michael lifts his sniper up, ready to kill them. So all of a sudden, Lori comes out of nowhere and stabs Michael to the point where he falls off the stairs, fully knocking him out. As the police arrive, the police all put their guns, put them down, and they look shocked to see Lori Stroud there. However, she simply says there's no time to explain that. You have to deal with Michael. However, Michael is getting back up and cutting all of the police. Michael is angered by this. However, Lori, Jamie, Rachel, and Tommy Lori went up leading Michael outside, and they would trap him in a van, and Lori began to drive the van away with all the men. They ended up driving fast, and they ended up driving by a cliff. Michael attempts to stop him. However, all the men end up falling out of the van. However, Michael is getting stuck between the tree and the van. Thus, he's trapped with Tommy, Rachel, Lori, and Jamie. Thus, they all end up preparing. Lori grabs the axe, and Michael dropped. They're all ready. Jamie, Rachel, Tommy, and Lori. They end up seeing Michael reaching out to them, essentially begging for Lori to stop, almost as if he realizes what he's done. However, Lori and Jamie know better, as does Rachel and Tommy. They know exactly what he's done. He meant everything. Thus, it seems like Lori and Jamie must reach out. All of a sudden, both of them swing the axe, cutting off Michael Myers' head, killing the Boogeyman. The police arrive, and they, as well, alongside this, the backup would arrive, and they would look shocked as Michael Myers, the Boogeyman, is now dead. And this is not going to be like the H2O time where they did a fake out and then he came back in Resurrection. No. This is where it ends. The franchise, in my version, would end here until a reboot would come along. And that's where we end my regret of Halloween 6 with Lori and Jamie hugging Michael, now defeated. So I hope you all enjoyed the Halloween 6. I worked really hard on this, guys. This was the reason I was partially gone for a while. In fact, I was focused on this, trying to make this the best I can. In fact, I rewatched Halloween 6 2 to 3 times to make sure fixes as well, both the producer's cut and the actual version we got. So I hope you all enjoyed, and sorry for screaming this idea, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you thought of this, and happy Halloween to you all. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.